What is up? Good morning and welcome to the Chris Grant Podcast. Good morning. It is morning. I'm tired. I'm drinking coffee, so please bear with me. But I wanted to get this one out. I'm enjoying this podcast, enjoying interviewing the comics and just talking about other stuff in between and doing all that. The throwback episodes, check those out. Old Man Willie is on there. AJ Finney. We got a good throwback with him. Matt Neff is doing some cool stuff. Check him out too. This one is all about radio. And when I say that, I just mean specifically radio. I'm not picking on anybody specifically. But I wanted to talk about radio ads and, the function of them in society today. So I want to ask you a question before we get started on this one. And this one is going to be kind of, I know there's going to be a lot of detail, might be kind of long, might be kind of heady. It's about marketing to a large degree. So, if you're wanting to have a good time, laugh, this may not be the podcast episode for you. Go check out one of the comedian interviews, stuff like that. But if you're a small business owner, or somebody who knows a small business owner wanting to become a small business owner, etc., then this podcast is definitely for you. I may save you some money or help you make some money. And who doesn't want to do that? So let's keep going. So the first thing I want to talk about or want to get started with is I want to ask you a few questions, okay? Just to prime you, just to get you to get in this headspace. So the first thing is, I want you to think about this. When was the last time you heard a radio ad? Okay, that's it. Just when was the last time you heard a radio ad? Remember back to that moment and just keep that in your mind. So the next one is, when is the last time you made a decision based on a radio ad? So keep that in your mind, think about it, and think, okay, I heard that jingle for the plumber on the radio, and then my pipe broke, and so I called that plumber. Has that happened to you? Have you made a decision? Have you gone to the store because of the radio ad? And then I want you to think about when that happened. Are you a regular radio listener? Did it just come on in your car? How did that come about? So let's see. And when was the last time you searched for something on a specific radio station's website versus Google or Facebook or something else? So, and I'll give you an example. Like, I think a lot of radio stations put events up on their websites, but a lot of people just go to Facebook, right? Type it in the search bar, events near me, things happening near me, and it actually saves a lot of time and all that stuff. So I just wanted to know how often do you utilize those tools that are available to you through radio stations? Another couple questions. Have you ever won anything from the radio? And if so, how many times? That's a good question to think about too. They're always doing giveaways, but how many times have you won? Okay? And then what did you win? What did you win? Think about that too. So today's podcast is about why radio may not be the best form of advertising anymore, and how other forms of advertising can help small businesses. Let's talk real quick about why radio used to be such a dominating force in the advertising industry, right? This was pre-internet, and I am also pre-internet, so I lived through it. And back in the day, radio people were, like in the 90s, late 90s. There's even a movie about it that was released in the late 90s. Radio people were like rock stars in the community, right? They were, in essence, they were like the YouTubers of that day. Okay, they were the ones, who you relied on for information. They were the ones you trusted. All that stuff. They were the ones on top. They were the ones you looked to for answers. And, the ones that I looked to for what was cool, right? They were trying to tell me what was cool, tastemakers, that kind of thing. And as we progressed, of course, we'll just start it off at 2000. As we've gone, past these 25 years, a lot of things have changed. People, I don't even know. If you ask a kid, in school right now, do you want to be a radio jockey or would you rather have a great YouTube channel? What would they say? Right? So it's very different now. I don't think being a radio jock carries the weight that it used to socially. So that being said, it still carries weight. People still trust those people and everything. I just don't think it's on such a mass scale anymore. And why is that? Well, it's because of the internet. There's so many more options. The pathway of human behavior has changed. Back then you kind of picked a radio station that you liked. You kind of stuck with it. You had, 6 different options. You'd go through all of them, and that's why these places have, 6 different types of music or 6 different types of programming or whatever. I'm just pulling 6 out of the air, and that's because they want to try to hit every demographic. Okay. It's not because they're cool. It's not because they like country and rock and all these things. It's because they want to capture every type of listener they can. Now that's smart. That's great advertising. That's what you're supposed to do. Now we've got unlimited options when we get in the car. Back in the day, it was either radio station or CD or cassette tape, whatever you had in your car, right? But it wasn't Spotify. It wasn't Apple Music. It wasn't Tidal. It wasn't whatever you could listen to. This podcast, somebody's listening to my podcast on the radio, even if it's only me. But yeah, there's so many different things that you can do now, and I want to ask you a question kind of like I did in the first of the episode. When was the last time you got in your car and specifically turned on the radio? Because I know when I get in my car, it's got Spotify already preloaded. I don't even think twice about a radio station, even though they've got the pretty, graphics and everything up there on the radio page. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear an ad. I really, really don't want to hear an ad while I'm driving and while I'm vibing. On top of that, you want to know a little radio secret? Those songs they're playing, there's a reason they play the same, 500 to 1,000 songs over and over and over. And again, I'm not going to, I'm not saying that's true with every station. Those numbers are made up, but you know how it feels. It feels that way, right? And that's by design. Have you ever noticed how like a really cool radio station might hit the scene and then, it gets a listener base. You're like, oh my gosh, they're playing stuff I never would have thought. These people are so cool. They get me, and you listen, you keep listening. And then as you go on, it's like, wait a minute. This station just morphed into the same station that they already had on the air. It's just got a different name. What happened? Well, what happens is they basically quantify how much time somebody's going to be in a car. They want to pick the hottest, absolute hottest songs they can to hook that listener into hearing a couple ads while they're in the car. That's it. That's the radio hustle. They want to catch people, when they can. They want to hook you when they can so they can get you to hear that ad. Just like this platform, honestly, just like other platforms. But, I think it's important for people to understand that because programming your songs has a lot to do with that formula. They're not thinking about music hardly at all. The jock might be, but the administrative people, they're thinking about how can we get that person, hooked for, 15 minutes. How do we get them listening to these people so we can sell them something? That's what it is. So, look back at the 50s. It's really obvious. They've kind of masked it more now, and they've become better at their jobs. So that's good too. But that is what it is. And people used to build habits around listening to a morning show. They kind of get tied into a morning show and, kind of feel close to the jock and things like that. And I think that still occurs too, but it's just not as prevalent as it used to be. When I talk about the reach of the radio station and all of the stations that they have in demographics like country, rock, metal, talk radio, whatever else they've got on the menu, I want you to think of that in terms of casting a wide net. Okay, when they're going over the air, they're just shooting out these signals to all these cars or all these radios. Let's not discount the radios sitting at somebody's desk during work. I think that's a good time to reach somebody. Also a good time, I think, to build a relationship with that listener, because they're sitting there, they're captive, and you're their only, as a jock, you're their only source of get me out of this place. If you're sitting there at a boring desk and you've got a person, that person on the radio is keeping the other person company. So there's something to be said about that. In this episode, we'll get into how to, make that net smaller for your business, or even use some different methods of trapping, so to speak. There are a lot out there. There are a lot available to the small business now. Again, could save you some money. So let's talk about the decline of radio advertising and why things are different now. I think I've touched on it a little bit, but let's go through that again. I want to say too, this was a huge pill for me to swallow. I've got a little story about the decline of radio advertising and the decline of radio in general. I'm a turntablist, turntable DJ, and I was booked at an event at a trampoline park at one time to play, play music for the kids, all that stuff. And I was just super excited because, it was cool that my career, I'd always dreamed of being in radio, and it was cool that my career was finally there. And I was that jock, I was that guy. Hey, these kids are going to listen to me. They're going to be a fan. Just like I was back in the day. And I get there and I'm like, I'm not going to say the station name, but I get there and I'm like, all right, y'all, how you doing? And they made noise, whatever. And I'm like, all right, guys, now let me hear you. Who listens to my station? Crickets. I think I heard one kid say, my mom listens to that station. So, and it probably true, because that was the demographics. But, and so I asked them, well, what do you guys listen to? Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, YouTube Music. It was not the radio. So the kids aren't into it. A lot of people just don't care anymore. As listeners, we want what we want when we want it, and we can have it. So it's really, really difficult to let someone else choose your programming for you in a day where you can literally pick whatever you want off of the buffet of media. I mean, any movie you want to watch at any time, any song you want to hear at any time, it's all out there for you. The only reason to have it curated for you is just because you're lazy, or maybe you don't care. You just want to passively listen, and there are those people that really just do enjoy radio broadcasts, but it's definitely different nowadays. Listener habits are very different nowadays. It's much harder to catch that listener during that 15 minutes. So, it's not as engaging as other forms of advertising either. And that's why you're going to see a lot of these radio stations on social media and everything, because they also know that radio is not enough, right? If radio was enough, every radio station wouldn't have a website. Every radio station would not have a Facebook, an Instagram. They wouldn't be plugged into social media, right? So even radio knows that radio is not enough. That being said, you can engage on these platforms. You can have a dialogue. You can have it instantly sometimes with people. So, but that's not limited to radio people. They don't have that gate to keep anymore. I mean, this right here, the internet is actually radio, right? Wi-Fi goes over radio waves. So this is a radio broadcast too. Everything you hear, see, anything on the internet is actually radio. In a way. I don't want to get technical, don't want to get sued. I'm a big fan of digital marketing. And one of the big reasons I'm a fan of digital marketing is because I don't have to just hand over a big stack of money to somebody and trust them. Hand them a big stack of money, trust they're going to do what they said, trust it's going to work, and trust it's going to bring those customers through my door. It's a lot of trust. Now, these people, they're trained, highly trained. They can do a good job. They can get those people through your door. I'm not gonna say that, but it can be a difficult process, and it can lead to issues too when maybe the people aren't coming through your door for another reason. Maybe the ad's not working. Who do you blame? Right? You're looking right at those radio people. Might cause a resentment. Might make you mad. When you're doing digital advertising, you pay as you go, and you can adjust it as you go. Okay. You don't sign a contract when you advertise through Facebook or Google or whatever you're advertising with. The only real contract you sign is that little ad campaign. It's a la carte. So, I'm running an ad campaign right now on Facebook. It was I think it's like a 10-day ad campaign. I paid $2 a day for it. I am trusting that Facebook will run that ad for me and do what they said they're going to do. But at the end of the day, if the ad doesn't work, whatever, I'm not locked into a contract with somebody. I don't have to keep doing this. Whether I have good sales days, bad sales days, whatever, I don't have to pay somebody else if I don't want to. So while radio can bring a lot to a business and be a great asset, when times are tough and that bill comes due, they're not responsible for your sales. At the end of the day, you still are responsible for running your business. And if you're not making enough money and that bill comes due, they're not going to say it's their fault. Trust me. They're going to say, we need you to pay us. With the radio, it's very hard to track, how tangible your advertising is, or how well it's doing for you. It's hard to track those analytics, so I don't know what they're comfortable sharing with their customers as far as analytics go, or what analytics they're sharing with customers, if they're using Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. Because remember, radio's not enough. So they may be using those tools as well. When you choose digital advertising, you don't have a spokesperson for your brand, right? Your brand speaks for itself. Your brand is the spokesperson. When you go through radio, you're almost kind of circumventing your own brand. You're saying, we want these people to make our brand better, right? Well, what happens, like I said, you're giving your brand over to a spokesperson, okay? Now, that could be really good, You could have a great spokesperson, and they might really, really help you to build up that brand strength, that brand image, brand equity, all that kind of stuff, right? If they're a real popular radio jock, something like that, a lot of listeners, all that kind of thing, might be really helpful. But what if you get the wrong jock, right? What if this guy's great on air, but then he's going out and acting like a fool in public and not representing the public interests? What if what if somebody heard them talking about your brand on the air, and then they hear about some controversy that happened somewhere in the city or something like that? So while they're putting a good light on your brand on the air, they're actually decreasing their own value in the community, which basically decreases the value of, all the brands they're associated with on air. So you really have to think about who's in charge of my brand. Who am I trusting with my brand? Are they somebody I want to be my spokesperson, right? And don't trust it just because they're on the radio. Just because they're on the radio doesn't mean they're good people, okay? It doesn't mean they're going to do right by you. They might. They probably will. But it doesn't mean they will. Like I was saying earlier, this is a radio broadcast, okay? And I'm gonna kind of detail that here. Have you ever been to a radio station? You know, you walk through these buildings, they're storm shelters. They're built, they're fortified. They have to protect all that equipment in there. So they're huge. You know, lots of money tied up in these buildings alone, right? Then you've got all the equipment in there, et cetera. It just goes on and on. These buildings cost a lot of money. Radio, traditional terrestrial radio costs a lot of money to just keep running, right? You know how much this is costing me right now? Hardly anything. I'm reaching an audience. I've reached you with my cell phone, this microphone, and my dirty office. Okay? I'm going to post this on YouTube, which is also free. And I'm going to send it out to you via social media and my contacts, which is also free. I would never pay a radio station to advertise this podcast. The reason I say this is that when advertisers pay a radio station, they're paying for a lot of things. Every business has to take care of overhead, and if you're a radio station and your income is, largely ad driven, you got to pay for that overhead. Okay? Meaning that some of that money is going to get absorbed. I'm not saying it's going to be your money, but they've got a pool of advertisers. Salaries have to get paid, building payments, just maintenance, all kinds of things have to get paid. So basically what I'm saying is people are paying for technology that is far cheaper nowadays, right? You're overpaying, I believe. You're overpaying for technology that's just not needed. What's needed is some knowledge and empowerment. With all this overhead, the job of the radio station is to pay the bills. They got to pay the bills, and they got to sell spots to do it. They got to sell a ton of advertising to pay all those salaries, etc. So yeah, that can run into problems too. I'll give you an example of what I mean. If you invest in the stock market, if you have a stock advisor or something like that, most of them are fiduciary, okay? And what that means is that it is their ethical responsibility to take their money and invest it in your best interest before they invest it in their own best interest, okay? So if I'm a financial advisor and I'm making, X percent off of your money, and I have a choice where I see a position where I could make more money, but there's another position where you would make more money, I have to pick the one where you make more money to stay within my ethical guidelines, okay? With the radio, I believe that they probably operate under a similar principle, but when it comes to, picking whether to run spots or something like that, in your benefit or their benefit, sometimes they got to run them in their benefit. Another advantage to digital marketing over radio marketing is not having to deal with a sales rep. Now, look, man, I want to say sales reps aren't bad, okay? I've hung out with some sales reps, outside of work, all that stuff. They're great people. That's why they're sales reps. That's why they're hired for the position that they're in, because they're personable people. They're likable people. They're influential people. And that's why you can get in trouble, because they'll come in there and they'll talk to you and they'll sell you and they'll be very friendly and very bubbly and really, really, put you in this position where, you think they can help you. And that's all by design. That's salespeople for you, and that's what they're supposed to do. But, at the end of the day, is it really helping your business? when you sign up for that, are you happy you did it? When they leave, the ink's dry, and you're alone sitting in your business looking at this contract, this piece of paper, are you are you hopeful, or are you questioning your decision making skills? And another thing with that is just they'll not incessantly, they don't come and bother you all the time, but they will follow up. Radio people will, once they think you're a warm lead, or once they think you've got enough money for an advertising budget, they're going to stay on you. This is a personal story, and this was didn't happen to me by a radio salesperson. It was a jock that approached me, actually, and it was when I started my my record business. Okay, and so this jock had an idea for a vinyl deal on the radio. I don't want to say the name. Basically, people would get together, and he would have a show built around vinyl. So he would spin vinyl, on the air. He had a couple turntables set up in the studio, and he would spin that vinyl on the air, and he wanted me to be the sponsor of that, right? He wanted me to give him money in records. That's what he really wanted. Okay, this radio jock wanted my records, and he wanted to figure out a way that he could rope me into advertising with the station, essentially, so he could get my records. And I want to go ahead and say this too. I was operating out of a flea market booth at the time. Okay, a flea market booth. So, you think this guy had a lot of faith in me and my business? I mean, I'm just asking. Do you? How many flea market booth people do you know that can afford radio advertising? I mean, so here I have this radio jock bugging me all the time to do some radio advertising and asking me for free vinyl. And I just politely declined. He didn't realize that I had a background in, marketing, SEO, etc. And I knew when he approached me, I was like, this is not a good deal. This is not a good deal. He will sink my ship if I let him. True story, guys. True story. So I politely declined. So let's talk about where that went, because I think that is it's just a really good story, and I think people need to understand how this stuff happens. Also, check out that coffee cup. What up, Steve? And company. Steve doesn't deserve all the credit. He gets a lot of it. Great band. He knows it. I know it. But man, who doesn't love Steve, right? So anyway, radio. I promise I'm not trying to air my grievances. I forgot about this until just now. But so this guy comes, wants my records. He's shopping at my booth, and I think he's mad that he has to pay the prices I'm asking. But he did. So anyway, he moves on. There's some competition. At the time, there were two other bigger radio or record businesses in town. So he didn't get the big one. Okay. He went over and got the next step above me at the time. And they created a nice little thing. They had this vinyl thing going on Saturday mornings, and this other business was behind it. They were, really helping. They were working together, and they created this product, right? They created this. It's a product. You sell it, and so they worked well for a while, and worked well together, and then later on. All of a sudden, this radio station was now partnered up with the bigger record business in town. And so I did a little digging, and of course in the community you can talk to people. They're accessible. So I asked the guy from the other record business what happened. Why did this thing not work out? And he told me that essentially they couldn't come to another agreement, couldn't come to another deal on the contract. They asked for something else or whatever, and essentially the radio station dropped him and went to this other business. Now, again, this is just the story I heard, okay? But I mean, if you look at what happened, to me it tracks. So, so this radio station essentially built this product, used this business to help them build this product, and then when they had the product already built, they took it over to another business and pitched them, and wound up getting in, essentially, I guess, going after a business maybe who they believed had deeper pockets, or something like that. Maybe they believed they lined up with the vision better. I don't know. I do know that the previous advertiser wasn't happy. Okay, he wasn't extremely mad. He's a real cool guy, but he wasn't happy about it. He wasn't like, "Oh yeah, I'm so glad we're not doing that anymore." He was like, "Man, I wish things would have turned out differently because that sucked." So, of course, when that all happened, I'm sitting there thinking, man, I'm glad I didn't let this guy have my records. I'm glad I wasn't the one. I've said a lot about why I don't think radio is the best answer for small businesses, but I haven't given you a lot of information or solutions as to what you can do if you're a small business owner. I know it's frustrating, right? There's like that level, here's where we're at, ground level, and here's where we need to get to afford advertising, radio advertising or something like that. There is all this place in between, though, guys. You can maximize that. Oh my gosh, you can do so well with that space in between. I promise you. That's what's so cool about the internet. You just have to you have to learn some things, okay? And let's get this out of the way, because I've heard so many people talk this way, and you just can't do it anymore. So I've heard people say, man, I'm a painter, and I just want to get out there and paint. I don't want to have to do all that other crap. Right? Or I'm a plumber, or I'm or whatever you are, whatever you do. You can't just be that and do that anymore if you're a business owner. You have to do all the things, and it sucks, but you do. All the things are social media presence, Google presence, interaction. You got to stay on this stuff. You got to stay in the algorithm, blah, 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 blah. It's almost a requirement for small businesses anymore. And if you're not on board, especially post-pandemic, you ought to think about your next 6 months to a year. We've seen a lot of businesses closing and things like that, and there's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. So really start thinking about where your money's going and what you can do. Again, we've talked about how you can spend just little bits of money here and there for Facebook ads and things like that, right? And I'll give you kind of my thinking on this, right? So when I've used digital advertising, I'm not a professional at it. I wasn't a professional. I'm really, really good at it now. But in the beginning, I wasn't a professional, okay? So there was a learning curve, definitely. I didn't always maybe target the right audience, or maybe I didn't hit the right keywords, or maybe I didn't do these things. And these are the reasons why you would also maybe hire somebody on the radio. And I'm gonna jump off for a second, because why am I hiring somebody from the radio station to do all this keyword stuff and all this online stuff for me, right? And that's, again, because radio's not enough. They have to plug into those algorithms the same way that you do, okay? Now, actually, before I get into everything else, I want to just say this. If you don't think this is true, you have the same access to these algorithms, the same access to Google and everything that these people do, Okay? If you don't think that's true, then why do I show up number 3 when you type in this radio family into Google? Why is my video number 3? Right? And why does my video outrank one of their videos that they actually did more recently than my video? Why is that happening? It's because I'm good at what I do, guys. And I had to do that to show you that I know what I'm talking about. Okay? Let's move on. There is a learning curve on all this stuff. I get it. You know, a 45-year-old plumber who has never used social media or social media advertising is going to have an issue. You know, don't hire, you know, your whoever's niece or whatever either. That's not going to work for you as well. But you know what could work for you is take those skills and take that drive that you use to become a plumber, you know, or whatever. You know, you can read. I know you can read. So get online and just start reading about this stuff. You know, throw $10 out there and see what happens. A lot of people have no problem, you know, spending $10 on a lottery ticket, maybe a cup of coffee, something like that. But they think it's the end of the world when they spend $10 on a Facebook ad, right? Don't think that way, you know. And if it doesn't give you over the top results, remember, I don't think the radio will either. So, but the difference is now you have more knowledge on this side. You are learning the same things that these people are trying to sell you. Okay? So continue to do that. When you invest in those forms of advertising, as long as you are learning, you're actually investing in yourself and you're becoming a more powerful small business owner yourself. So, but before you even spend a dime, let's talk about that. Before you even spend a dime on advertising, let's talk about the things you can do to really boost your brand. Now I'm drinking water out of a bar next door cup. I'm an OG, guys. 417 OG. So let's talk about what you can do to boost your brand. How's your Facebook, right? How's your Instagram looking? How's your TikTok looking? How's your YouTube channel looking? What's your presence? You know, what ranking do you come up when somebody Googles you? You know, all those things are very important questions to ask yourself. Radio stations can help those metrics, okay? But they're going to do it in such a way that it's kind of a passive way. People are going to hear about you. They're going to go, oh, I wonder if they have an Instagram. Or maybe the radio will tell them, like them on Instagram, like them on Facebook, whatever. It may get you some likes and things like that, but you're not actually the one manning the ship. So, and again, you can do a far better job at reaching your customers than I think they can. I think you know your customer base better than they do. So keep that in mind too. And one of the cool things we have at our disposal now is we're able to really be niche with social media, especially TikTok. There's so many niche characters, so many niche accounts, things like that. And you can really use that, to the benefit of your business if you're willing to learn some things. So basically what I'm trying to tell you, without getting too long-winded, is that before you think about spending a dime on any kind of radio advertising, anything like that, go ahead and look at all these things. How can I fortify my social media presence? How can I make this better than it is? How are we reaching our customers through these avenues? Now, you don't have as big of a reach as the radio station. I'll give you that. But they're also sharing leads between different businesses. They have a big database of all the people who call in, the people who submit their email address, etc. So they're just kind of sharing that database. You have the option to directly reach out to your customers, find them, and really, really pinpoint who you want as a customer. So I brought up the net analogy earlier, and now I'm going to give you the end of that thing. If you're going fishing, do you want to cast a big net, right? You can cast a big net and you might catch a great big old fish. You might catch an awesome fish that's amazing, and you just want to keep it. You want to get it mounted, all that kind of stuff. That may happen. You got this big net. You're going to catch a lot of other stuff you don't want, though, in that process. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that's unnecessary to dig through and wade through to find that big trophy bass or whatever you're looking for, right? Okay, so with digital marketing and the way you can target your audiences and target your customers and all of that stuff, to me that's more like having a underwater spear gun if you're fishing, okay? So instead of casting that wide net and digging through all that stuff, you can go through that water and swim through those fish and get out your spear gun and get that one, right? Just take that one. That's all you needed. No other fish have to die. and you get what you wanted directly. Okay, you don't have to cast a big net. You don't have to do it in a roundabout way. You've got your customer. You got them directly. So that's how I kind of want you to think about radio versus digital. Digital is not messing around. And again, radio's doing the same thing. I'm not sure who's got what, but I know radio stations, rely on other kinds of marketing, digital marketing, the same way you and I do. Okay? Again, they do it professionally. Maybe we don't have as much knowledge, but if you can read, you can get just as much knowledge as they have. Facebook makes it easy. Google makes it easy because they want you to spend money, just like these radio stations. Maxing out your social media can be difficult, and I want to also stress this. That doesn't mean posting every day, okay? That doesn't mean making a lame post with a crappy camera. That means really thinking about how you engage with your audience, what your audience wants to see from you, and why they want to see it. Call to action is so important. If you go back to my early days with the record store, I had what we called flip videos. So when we would get new records in, I'd flip through them and I would show people what we just got in. And the call to action was either come down to the flea market, come down to the record store, get on the website, check these out, whatever. But it was always, here's what we have, here's where to go get it. Okay? So I captured the interest of the customer when they were flipping through the records, got them in that mind frame of looking at the vinyl. And then at the end, branding, website, here's where to find these records. So there was always a call to action, and it worked. It worked. People, I kid you not, I would post one of those videos and boom, somebody would come through the door. Hey, you still got that blah, blah, blah record? Oh, here it is. Yep, it's still here. You want it? So anyway, point is it worked. Instagram worked. I didn't need the radio station to tell that person to come through my door. I did a fine job of it myself, and you can too. You just have to really think about what you're doing and how you want your customer to perceive your product. And to get some great ideas, you might even look on other people's social media, right? We're in a big old country. And if you steal somebody's idea from, from California, if you're an auto body mechanic and you steal one of their TikTok ideas, nobody's going to care, okay? People will follow you too. So if I'll tell you what, I'll call somebody out. Actually, this is a really good example. And it's funny because I have talked to him about this stuff, and he's killing it. I'm going to link him down below, as a matter of fact, because I want you to see what this guy's done on his own volition. Now, and he used to advertise on radio. Okay, that's why this is so important. He owns or actually his dad owns Carmel Car Audio in Springfield, Missouri. Okay? They used to advertise on the radio, and he and I actually had a lot of these same conversations face to face. I don't know if I'm part of the reason he did it or if he's just a real smart guy. But his name is Joseph, and I highly recommend you go over there, first of all, because they do a great job. I've seen this guy's work, and I've seen his character and integrity. This guy's a good guy. He's a family man. He's got a wife and a kid at home, and he's just an all-around good person. So go check them out if you need something stereo-wise in Springfield, Missouri, surrounding areas. Carmel Car Audio, they're linked down below. And check out what this guy's done with his YouTube, so you can understand. You can do this too. You can do it. You care more than a radio rep, which I think might be another reason he just decided to go on his own, because he had a skill set. And I think maybe the radio did a couple spots for him, like video spots. And I just think that he realized he could do a better job. I'm not saying the radio does a bad job. I'm just saying he cared more about his product. He knew more about his product. He knew what his customer wanted to see. So he was targeting that customer. And the radio stations deal with so many people that they really don't necessarily have time to, really get to know and understand your business. So that's not all. That's not always the case. I always want to give that, that disclaimer. That's not always the case, but it happens a lot. It's pretty common. So, he's done a great job. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, you need to figure out how to reach your customer, what they want to see. There's other people out there. How silly. I'm thinking of these ice cream videos where these people are, putting basically sculpting the ice cream and putting the stuff in it, making a cone and all that stuff. And these kids have TikToks with this that are getting millions of views on TikTok, just to watch these people do their job. Okay. So how can you make what you do interesting enough? You don't even have to get millions of people. How can you make what you do interesting enough to start building a following? That's what you need to focus on. Just build a following. Build a small one. It'll turn into a big one. Here's another question I want to ask you when it comes to that. Casting a wide net versus using a spear gun. Okay, so you've got 50,000 customers at $1 a piece. That's still not bad, right? $50,000 is $50,000. That's a lot of customers, and I guess those customers could wind up spending more money later on. Now, what if you have one customer who's a $50,000 customer? Maybe they spend 50 G's a year at your spot. Now, which one do you want? Do you want 50,000 people clogging up your system, or do you just want one person coming in every once in a while spending a bunch? Okay? Now, what if you can duplicate that? What if you can get multiple $50,000 customers? Do you want, 5 $50,000 customers, or do you want 125? Wait, what's the math there? 250,000 dollar customers, right? Think about it. It's the same amount of money, but the quality of your customer base over here is going to be so much better than the quality of your customer base over here. So it does take a little bit of patience to reach those people, but it's definitely going to be worthwhile. And here's another reason why. Because all the work you do is yours, right? That'll be your TikTok account. That's your Instagram account. That's your Facebook account. You are the one ranking on Google, not the radio station. Every time the radio station or anybody does something on your business, you're actually giving them the opportunity to outrank you on Google about your business. That's another thing. Do you want somebody else telling your story? Do you think somebody else is going to tell your story as good as you can? It's a real good question to ask yourself, because they might just be doing it. There's a local publication here in this city. Basically, every business that opens, they come and try to, just kind of get basically quantify the business, so to speak. They ask a lot of questions about it. Whatever information a business owner is willing to give up, they'll take it. And they tried to interview me. I opted out. I understand SEO. I understand how these things happen. And I did not want them to outrank me on Google. And I did not want this company telling my story online. I'm very, very selective. There was only one time I got interviewed by the news for Record Store Day at the record store. And he asked me if he could do a story. And I said, I will let you do this story under two conditions. Number one, I want to produce it. I want to help you produce this story. I've got a little bit of background in that, and all that stuff. I said, so yeah, I want to help you produce it. Number two, I want you to shoot it over to me before you air it. And he agreed, because I understood this guy's telling my story, and I'm not going to let him tell this story alone, right? I want to make sure that my story gets out there in the way that I believe the public needs to digest it. And just a real quick tidbit of what I'm talking about. This might really help drive it home for you. If you've ever been interviewed on the news for anything, okay, maybe you saw a car wreck, maybe you're waiting in line for Black Friday, whatever the case may be. If you've ever been interviewed by the news for anything, that they probably interview you and get you to talk could get you to talk for 3 to 5 minutes. And you're excited, you go home, you want to see yourself on the news, and you watch the broadcast, and you're like, they've got like maybe, 8 seconds of you saying something out of context that you hate to make their story. Okay? The news, these other places, the radio station, whoever, they're telling your story, but they're also adding to theirs. Okay? At the very minimum, they're using your story to tell theirs. Okay? I think that's really important for people to understand, because they don't always understand that. So again, the biggest thing I can stress about that is this story might have happened 6 months ago. It might still, you may be a completely different person. Your business might be completely different, but somebody who Googles you for the first time, they're going to get that story that was done on you, and that's going to be their first perception of your business. Somebody else telling your story. You don't want that. I never wanted that. A lot of people don't realize that until it's too late. And again, let me tie it back into the fact that I'm number 3. I'm ranked number 3 right now. When you type in this marketing company, I should not be ranked number 3 in my opinion, but here I am, right? So effectively, same thing. I could be telling their story, but I'm not going to. They can do that. They talk all day long, every day. They're pros at telling their story. I'm going to let them keep doing it. Just don't let somebody tell your story unless you're 100% or 110% positive that they're going to tell it in the way that you want it told, and get it out to your customers the way you want it delivered. Now let's think about that for a second too, because what if you pay the radio station to produce a video for you? Oh, that's great, right? That's awesome. Where's that video going to go? Is that video going to go on their YouTube? Is it going to go on your YouTube? Who's going to own the video? And here's why. Do you want to send that web traffic to the radio station site first, or do you want to send that web traffic to your site first? Again, you can really circumvent the radio station. It's to me, it's a roundabout process that doesn't necessarily need to exist for the small business owner. Okay, you can directly hit that customer yourself. and you can directly get the benefits of hitting that customer yourself. In this episode, I'm giving up a lot of secrets, but that's okay because I legitimately want to help you, right? I've got my own thing going on. Of course, sure, I would help you advertise if you asked me and it made sense. But there's enough free stuff on this video that you've got work to do before you ever would even ask me to help you. There's always something to be done. One of my favorite things too about Instagram or any social media is that I don't have to call somebody to make a commercial. You can make a commercial anytime you want to, right? You can make a commercial, you get an idea, it's a slow day, boom, there you go, film a spot. You don't have to call somebody, you don't have to discuss ideas, you can do all that stuff yourself, and you can do a good job. In fact, one of the biggest videos on this YouTube channel that I have, two of them actually, but the one I'm talking about has over 250,000 views now. It's largely responsible for a lot of my subscribers on this channel, which go ahead and check that number out too if you would. But basically, this just happened. It was a day I was just bored at the shop, and I thought this would be a cool video and a way to get our brand out there. And I wanted to make it. It was a fun one too. So we did it for enjoyment, and it worked. And I did that a lot. That was just the most successful one, but it's still reaching people. It's still reaching people. I'm still getting web traffic from this one video. Now, what if I didn't own that video? What if the radio station came in and shot that video and it was on their site? Now all of a sudden they're getting all my traffic, right? My web traffic. Now, what if all of a sudden I can't afford the radio station anymore? Okay? They could take that video down. They could set it to private. They could continue to use it. They could drive traffic potentially somewhere else if they wanted to. There's so many things that could be done. And if you don't have that ownership, it may wind up biting you later on. So, and I'll sit here saying I own everything in my business. That's part of my success, is that I own the socials. I have no admins on any socials. I do it all. They're not able to siphon my money, right? It's a symbiotic relationship when you deal with these people, but you've always got to keep pumping them with money. You might make extra money, but some of that's going to go to them. Okay. And what also sucks is that if things change, if you can't afford it anymore, well, all of a sudden, a lot of that stuff you built is going to go away. That's not the case if you're building your own brand online, and building your own empire. And you can build a small empire. You don't have to build a huge thing. You don't have to be Jeff Bezos to get ad clicks. Another thing I want to touch on briefly is, as we're talking about driving traffic, I want you to understand something else too, is that during these on-air broadcasts, these radio stations will, always ask people for their contact information. Sign up on the website, throw your email address in here, throw your phone number in here, to win, right? That's why I asked you early on, how many times have you won something from the radio station? I know I've won a couple things. I might have a shirt in the closet or something, right? But I don't win every time. You have to be on your feet. You have to really be on your feet to win those things and just get real lucky. And it just doesn't happen that often for me. Maybe some of you are more lucky than me, but the real function behind those is similar to the best example I can come up with would be those giveaways at the mall. Which, while we're talking about things, when's the last time you went to a mall? Wow, this episode's vintage. But so there used to be these things at the mall. They probably still have them. You could win a vehicle. They'd have a really, really nice vehicle just sitting in the mall, and they'd have these little kiosks where you could, sign up to win this vehicle. And you'd put your name, your address, your phone number, all your contact information on this thing. And you turn over the back of the sheet you filled out, and there's all this small print telling you just exactly how they're going to use this information to market to you, and that they were free to use your information to market to other people, to sell your information, to all that stuff, okay? I'm not saying the radio station is doing that. What I am saying is that a lot of times, when they're telling you to enter your email address, when they're telling you to enter your phone number, etc., they're just trying to get that information so they can then shoot stuff back out to you and sell you, okay? So again, so basically what they're doing, if you pay for radio advertising, is they're casting that large net, and then they're grabbing your customers, okay? They now are the kind of the liaison between you and your customer in that situation. What did I say before? Radio's not enough. Radio knows this. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to gather all that contact information, because really, the stuff that goes over the airwaves is great, but again, they're also trying to hit people directly. So they're getting that contact information, then they're shooting out their, whatever radio station email to these people. So essentially they're taking contact information and customers from all these local businesses, right? Putting them in one space and then marketing each of these businesses to those customer bases, or that customer base. Again, not a very direct approach, and in a way, it can kind of put somebody in a position where they're competing for their own customer. Okay? Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because businesses now have their own ways of developing those customer bases. Okay? You can develop your own email list. You can develop your own phone list, and you should be doing this. The people who want to sign up for that stuff, when they're in your presence, when they're not trying to win something, they want to do it because they like your business. That's probably closer to that $50,000 customer than it is to that dollar customer, right? Why are they signing up? Quality is a big part. You want quality customers. And I believe that's the way to get your quality customers. And not only that, sending a mass email, look it up. It's not difficult. You can develop your customer base. You can send out, your mailers and stuff like that, just like the radio station does. In fact, that's a huge way they stay afloat, is by building this database and shooting out these emails, because they know how effective they are. And again, they know that radio's not enough. So basically what I'm saying is you can take control of your customer base. You don't need a liaison between yourself and your customers. I believe that you are just fine in handling your people. So I've been long-winded as usual. There's so much stuff I haven't talked about that I still could talk about, kind of some detail-oriented stuff to really, push you and help you forge ahead, in your journey as a small business owner. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to, go ahead and give me your contact information. I just talked all kinds of crap about it. I know. But you can email me. And when you email me, I'm going to have your email address and be able to contact you. And I probably will. I might even contact you through my record store, but I only send out stuff that I think you're going to like. I don't spam. I haven't even sent out an email in, probably 3 weeks, because I haven't felt the need to send something out. Here's why I want to talk to you, because I would like to pick out a few local businesses to be on this podcast for free, I might have guests on here, whatever. What I really want to do first, though, is I want to look at your business. I want to look at your social media, and I want to essentially tear it apart on this podcast, in a constructive way. I want to give you free advertising, free exposure, and also tell you how you could better your brand based on these principles. Now, if you don't want to put that out in public, no big deal. If I've got time, I'll go ahead and take a look at your brand. I'll go ahead and take a look at what you're doing, with your advertising, and just give you a paragraph or two on some things I think that you could do better based on what I've seen, and just try to help you make a little bit more money. Now, that being said, I won't have a lot of time to answer emails. I have a lot of stuff on my plate, but I truly do want to help you, and I want to educate people. I now realize, after doing this stuff for a long time, that not everybody has this knowledge. Not everybody knows, just how simple and quite frankly, just how easy it can be to build your brand through digital means. By yourself, make your money and all of your money work for you. Get a higher return on your investment. Those are the things that I would like to teach people at this point. And again, if you look at my stats, the only reason that I feel comfortable even teaching you guys is because I feel pretty well fed at this point. Okay. I feel like I'm doing okay. And I feel like I can give up some of this knowledge to people because I don't think that it's going to affect me and my personal business in the long term. And it's going to take you a while to catch up to me too. So, like I said, I'm really good at what I do. And if you need some help, shoot me an email. I'm not going to be salesy. I can promise you that. What I want to do is help you with your products, with your services, with your business. I want to help you make money, and I want to help you save money. So, check that email below. Check out all the other stuff too. Once again, guys, I want to thank you so very much for tuning in to the Chris Grant podcast. Check out my other episodes. Like I said, they're so much more fun than this one was. I've got some interviews with local comedians. I've got an interview out there with a local comedian who used to be a stuntman. He graduated from Kickapoo, went to LA, came back. He's got really cool stories about that. You can see him also being set on fire. I've got lots of cool content on here all over the place. Check out my YouTube channel. Do a deep dive. Like, subscribe, and please share. And I'm going to give an extra call to action here. Please share with a small business owner that you care about in our local Springfield, Missouri community, in the 417 community. That's the cool thing about online too, is I can help anybody, in the country. But I'd rather help local people if I can. I know a lot of you. So you've seen me. You've seen the glow up. You've seen the success. I'm ready to tell you how to do it. So anyway, like, subscribe, share, check out my other episodes, and I will catch you next time.